How do I get... Oh, come on. Oh my god! See that? See that? Yeah. Now, I love the Legend of Zelda series. It's probably one of the first video game franchises where I felt like, whoa, like I love video games. My first Zelda game was The Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. Now, Spirit Tracks isn't like one of the top dog Zelda games, but it was at least engaging enough, and I'm thankful to have played it because otherwise I don't think I would have found out about this wonderful franchise. So when I first got my Switch, Breath of the Wild was of course the first game that I got for it. I got my Switch in July of 2017. I remember just like going to the nearest cafe and just unboxing my Switch there and playing Breath of the Wild in handheld mode for like an hour, and then going back home and then playing it for like the rest of the day. In about, I think it was like September when I finally beat the game. So I remember beating Breath of the Wild, going through the ending, the final boss, and I entered like this post-Zelda depression. I wonder if that's like a thing. Because it's like I spent like 2 months like playing this game, and just like I would wake up, drink my coffee, and play Breath of the Wild early in the morning, and then like when you're done with the game, it's just like I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what else to play. That was like one of the reasons like why I was burnt out on video games for a time, because Breath of the Wild was just so great, and then after beating it, I just didn't know what else to turn to. And then a couple months later, I was introduced to Skyrim. And then of course the DLC came out, and then I did as much as I could to beat that and finish the Master Trials, which were freaking hard. I remember I was in a coffee shop and I beat the final trial of the sword, and I was there for like 7 hours. Oh my god, yeah, that was my story with that. And yeah, I think all I'm trying to say is that I'm just trying to sort of convey just how much I love Zelda, specifically Breath of the Wild. My favorite Zelda game before Breath of the Wild would probably have been A Link to the Past or A Link Between Worlds, but I think it's just safe to say that Breath of the Wild is probably my favorite game, period. Can I say that? Breath of the Wild, Spider-Man PS4, and what goes in the third line? I'll figure that out later. So yeah, Breath of the Wild means a lot to me. It practically changed the way I looked at video games, so much so that it put me into like this post-Zelda depression. I wanted nothing more than to sort of recapture my first experience with the game and sort of revisit the game and replay it and get that feeling that I had upon like discovering the ruins of Hyrule for the first time and learning how the game works. And because the thing about Breath of the Wild is that what makes it such a memorable game experience is that it's not going through the motions of beating the bosses and going through the shrines that sort of give value out of the game, at least not for me. What really makes that game experience like so memorable is the fact that your first playthrough is chock full of like aha moments and like holy shit moments, and it's hard to recapture that when you've already beaten the game and you've already become more familiar with the layout of the map and the game's mechanics. And yeah, I've probably tried a good three or four times to start a new file and play the game again on normal difficulty, and it just does not work because I stop halfway through because it's just like this isn't enjoyable just to replay the game, you know. It's like I already know where everything is and like I already know what to do, and that factor of treading cautiously wasn't really connecting with me. Like, I don't know. But recently I've decided to play the game in master mode. It's basically just the enemies are harder to fight. So I sort of dropped master mode after trying it for like a month because I was just like, okay, it's just a harder version of the game. Like, I don't know what else to do here. But recently I've picked it up again and I've started doing a little bit more in my file. And I think it does a lot more just by having the enemies like be in different places and sort of be harder to fight, because enemies in Master Mode, they regenerate health, they're much more aggressive, and they're relentless. That's basically the best way I could put it. What I sort of wanted to recapture from my first playthrough was being scared of the world of Hyrule, being scared to really go out of bounds and sort of, you know, pick fights, because when you first play Breath of the Wild, you're encouraged to be a pacifist, because fights take up a lot of resources, especially in Master Mode. Now in Master Mode has you sort of has you using whatever skills you acquired through means of the normal mode, but to an even higher degree. So I think that was enough to sort of justify like playing through Master Mode on Breath of the Wild. Another thing that really makes a Breath of the Wild experience, a Breath of the Wild playthrough, really memorable and impactful is the feeling of getting stronger. Now, getting stronger doesn't exactly equate to the equipment that you get, as in like hearts. And when I say getting stronger, that doesn't equate to the equipment that you get, as in like your armor, hearts, or weapons, but getting stronger as in becoming more familiar with the game and sort of being able to fight smarter, to pick your battles, and to sort of just understand the game a little better, because there's a lot of mechanics within the game, whether it's parry attack, flurry rush, you know. Now, just because you have good weapons, good armor, and like a ton of hearts and stamina doesn't mean that you're automatically gonna win every battle in Breath of the Wild. If anything, it only makes you more eligible to battle in Breath of the Wild. It gives you a better chance. So what I can appreciate about Breath of the Wild, Master Mode or not, is that it encourages you to sort of improvise and sort of scratch and claw for as many resources as you can get your hands on, just so that you can walk away from a fight and live to tell the story. Yeah. Another thing about stories about Breath of the Wild is that if you watch like any review, most people who have played the game will feel the urge to sort of tell a story based on one of their experiences from Breath of the Wild, and that's because an experience in Breath of the Wild is sort of like a surreal experience when you first like encounter something that you didn't expect, or something that sort of catches you off guard. And I think it's such a magical thing when a game that's released today can have such an impact and such influence of encouraging people to tell their stories through word of mouth. And I think that's just such a great thing. Just the experiences that people can go through is way beyond just playing things in a different order or adapting to different play styles. Anyways, I have a test that I should be studying for, and maybe after I'm done studying, I'll spend 100 more hours with Breath of the Wild. I don't know. I'm just trying to find a way to conclude this video, because I'm pretty much done saying words at this point, and I'm gonna go. Alright, if you enjoyed watching this video, comment down below. You know, I'm Nicholas Gregorio. It was nice talking to you. Bye.